My dad threw my tools in an oil bin. My mom said my sister's fiancé was more of a son. Now, 5 years later, they're outside my apartment with envelopes and tears, begging, please, just come home. I didn't let them in. I knew something was off the second we pulled into the lot. The shop still had the smell of fresh paint and old rubber, like it hadn't decided yet if it was a home or a business. My name is Victor. I'm 17, and until that day, I've been sleeping in the old garage room behind our previous place. It wasn't much, but it was mine. Grease-stained posters, shells of busted carburetors, a busted heater that rattled like a chain smoker, all mine. Go help your sister unload, Dad said, tossing a ring of keys at me like I was a valet. I grabbed my duffel and headed toward the side door. That's when I saw Trent, shirt off, sweat glistening, already hauling in what looked like a giant speaker system. He grinned when he spotted me, like we were buddies. We weren't. Yo, Vic, he called. Hope you don't mind. Your old spot's getting an upgrade. I froze mid-step. My what? He pointed behind him. The garage room. Bonnie said it was perfect for me. It's already wired for sound, and there's space for my weights. Gonna make it mine, you know? I turned to Mom, who was directing movers like a drill sergeant. He's moving into my room? She didn't even look up. It's not your room anymore, Victor. We needed the space. But Dad cut me off. You've been hanging onto that shack like it's the Taj Mahal. Trent's earning his keep. You're just sitting around hoping for handouts. I looked at him, trying not to react. I help? Help? He laughed, grabbing one of my old plastic bins from the truck bed and dropping it hard enough to rattle the lid. You barely show up. You think school's gonna keep food on your plate? This is a business, Victor. You either pitch in or pack out. You never even asked me. We didn't need to, Mom said sharply. You made your choice when you refused to train under your father. Trent wants to be part of something. You don't. I looked down at the bins, my tools, my books, my posters, dumped next to the tool shed like garbage no one wanted to deal with. Like I was some spare part they didn't know what to do with anymore. Bonnie walked by then, holding Trent's hand like he was already part of the family. She didn't say anything, just gave me this look like I was the one being difficult. I'll remember this, I said quietly. Dad turned, annoyed. What? I met his eyes. I'll remember this. You will too. Nobody replied. Maybe they didn't think I meant it. Maybe they just didn't care. But I meant every word. By the next morning, it was official. I was out. My things had been dumped in a crooked stack outside the tool shed. Not even inside it. Just there, in the sun, like junk waiting for garbage pickup. Plastic bins cracked on the corners, some of them leaking clothes, books, and the old socket wrench set my uncle gave me before he passed. I stood there, staring at it all, like maybe if I waited long enough, someone would come out and say it was a mistake. No one did. Trent, meanwhile, was inside my room, already hammering something into the wall. I could hear the music blasting, some kind of synth-heavy garbage, and his voice yelling over it. He sounded happy, like he'd won a prize. I knocked on the door once. Then again, louder. He opened it wearing a tank top and grinning like he'd been expecting me. Yo, Vic. You're early. I want my room back. He laughed. Dude, come on. This place was falling apart when I moved in. I already started fixing it up. Got plans, man, Bonnie said. I didn't wait for him to finish. I stepped forward, ready to push past him. But before I could, my dad came around the side of the garage, wiping his hands on a rag. You're not welcome in there, he said flatly. It's my room. No, he snapped. It was a room we let you use. And now someone else is using it. Someone useful. I clenched my fists. You're seriously doing this? He gestured toward my bins. Look, Victor. You're a spare part we never needed. Hanging around, whining about school and dreams and all that crap. Trent's learning the trade. He gets what we're about. What you're about? I asked, my voice sharp. You mean old changes and yelling? He stepped closer. You better walk away before you say something you regret. I didn't move. Then Lars showed up. My older brother, face twisted in that permanent smirk he wore like cologne. He held his phone up and waved it like a trophy. Yo, you see this? He asked, scrolling. Your toolbox, already getting bids. People love vintage crap. What the hell, Lars? He shrugged. You weren't using it. Don't be selfish. Gotta pay rent around here somehow. I lunged at him. Not to punch, I'm not that stupid, but to grab my stuff. He pulled back, laughing, and I grabbed his arm. That's when Dad got between us, pushing me hard enough to send me stumbling back against the shed. That's it, he said. You're done. I want my bike, I said, breath shaking. Trent's using it. You didn't touch it for months. It's mine. You don't live here anymore, Dad said. Act like it. I looked at all three of them. My family. Laughing, smirking, smug. Like tossing me out was the best decision they'd ever made. So I turned around and walked. I took what I could carry, a duffel, my hoodie, my socket wrench set, and left everything else behind. My busted bike, my school binders, my posters. All of it. That night, I crashed at my friend Riley's place. A worn couch in his dad's basement that smelled like sweat and garlic. I couldn't sleep. Just lay there scrolling through Instagram, watching Bonnie post stories of the garage room's transformation. LED lights. Flat-screen TV. Trent smiling in the background like he'd been born into the family. I wasn't tagged in a single photo. I watched it all unfold from a stranger's couch, with a pillow that wasn't mine, thinking, they replaced me. And they wanted everyone to know it. The couch didn't last long. Riley's dad was cool for a couple nights, but then his girlfriend started complaining about extra mouths and disrespectful energy, whatever that meant. By the end of the week, I was out, no argument, no heads up. Just a garbage bag of my stuff waiting on the porch when I got back from a landscaping gig. After that, I bounced between people I barely knew. An old classmate from bio let me crash on the floor of his gaming room for 3 nights. A girl I used to talk to in English let me nap in her car between her shifts. Every place I stayed felt like a countdown. How long before they got sick of me too? During the day, I worked. Whatever I could get. Busboy. Stockroom grunt. I pulled weeds, scraped gum off sidewalks, handed out flyers nobody wanted. If it paid something, I said yes. I had no phone plan, no health insurance, and definitely no backup. Just a pile of rolled-up clothes in a duffel and a cracked debit card with $33 left on it. One night, I slept in Riley's old van. Rain tapped on the roof like a reminder. This is where you belong now. I curled up in the back seat, using a pair of jeans as a pillow, my stomach hollow from skipping dinner. I should have felt sorry for myself. Instead, all I could think was, I warned them. That week, Bonnie sent me a picture. It was my rims. The ones I polished every Sunday when I still gave a damn about appearances. Now they were mounted on Trent's truck, gleaming like new, captioned, he takes such good care of everything. An hour later, she followed it up with a selfie of Trent installing a flat screen above what used to be my bed. No message. Just the image. Like she wanted me to see what he had, what I didn't. I stared at the screen until my battery died. A couple days later, I found out Lars sold my last decent socket set online. My name wasn't even mentioned in the listing. Lightly used from our garage. I tried calling my mom, just once, not to beg, but to ask about my paperwork. No answer. Texted her. Blocked. Then I got a message from Mrs. Dennis, the lady I'd been living with the past 2 nights. Hi, sweetie. I don't mean to be rude, but your mom came by today. She said you were struggling with some behavior issues and it might be best if I didn't enable things. I'm so sorry. So they weren't just ignoring me. They were erasing me. The final blow came at the DMV. I needed to update my ID, but when the clerk pulled up my info, she frowned. Huh, she said. There's no record of you at that new address. You're not listed. I blinked. I lived there for over 10 years. That's my family's house. Not anymore, she said, typing something. They updated the file last month. You're not attached to it anymore. I walked out into the parking lot, head spinning, and sat on the curb like I'd been hit. They hadn't just kicked me out. They were scrubbing the record clean. No trace. Like I'd never lived there. Never mattered. That's when something shifted. It wasn't anger. Not exactly. It was colder. Cleaner. I started writing things down. Names. Dates. Screenshots. Copies of receipts. Photos of my tools. Posts with timestamps. Every time they stole something, I saved it. Every insult. Every laugh. Every real man comment. I documented everything. Because I finally understood. This wasn't just rejection. It was war. And I had just decided to stop losing. First thing I did was hit the storage unit I shared with my uncle before he passed. Way in the back was a dusty milk crate full of old shop paperwork. Manuals, receipts, expired permits, registration docs, and, buried in the bottom, a copy of the original small business license my dad filed 15 years ago. It had one signature besides his. Mine. I was 13 when he made me sign as a formality, said it made the business feel like a family legacy. At the time, I felt honored. Now I held that same paper in my hand like a lit match. Turned out, nobody had bothered to remove my name from half the old contracts. Credit accounts, supply orders, equipment leases. I wasn't just connected to the business. I was still legally part of it, at least on paper. But not in a good way. If they defaulted, I'd go down too. That was the leverage I needed. I spent 2 full days using public library computers, filing requests, combing through records, sending certified letters to every company that still had my name listed. I submitted formal notices to remove myself from liability. Every letter included copies of the shop's new address, signed by my parents, proving I no longer lived or worked there. That's when the fun started. The garage's operating license renewal hit a snag. They couldn't verify a clean transfer of ownership because technically I hadn't been removed yet. Until that was sorted, their standing was marked as pending. That meant no permits for expansion. No government contracts. No fleet work. Just walk-ins. I wasn't done. I filed a tip with the city's housing office about illegal live-in tenants, namely Trent. The garage wasn't zoned for residential use, and they'd converted my old space into a bedroom, complete with power tools stacked under a mounted TV. Add in the photos Bonnie had posted? That was all the proof I needed. A week later, an inspector showed up. I didn't see it happen, but I didn't have to. Lars posted one of his signature angry rants online. Seriously, who the hell snitched to the city? This is straight-up harassment. If we go under, just know it's because some bitter kid couldn't get over being a lazy deadbeat. He didn't name me, but I recognized the tone. So did everyone else. Some of the comments under his post even hinted at knowing more than they let on. Should have just treated people better. Y'all really thought nobody'd notice? I read them with a smile. Not a big, triumphant grin. Just a quiet one. Calm. Focused. This wasn't revenge. It was maintenance. Like draining the oil before the engine seized. I never said a word publicly. No posts. No replies. I let them spin themselves into panic while I kept filing, kept collecting, kept documenting every misstep. They wanted to erase me. Instead, I made myself the ghost in their machine, jamming it, stalling it, flooding it with red tape and consequences. And I wasn't even close to done. Word started spreading about the garage. Customers started asking questions. Inspectors kept coming back. What was once a well-oiled machine, my dad's pride, my family's golden goose, started coughing up smoke. Then Trent bailed. I heard about it through a friend who worked across town. One day he was in the garage, smiling, posting thirst traps with socket wrenches. The next, he was gone, skipped out owing $3,000 in parts inventory and left behind a pile of used rags and an IOU scribbled on the back of a pizza box. They say my mom found it first. Didn't sign up for this drama. Good luck. That's what he wrote. Real man, right? Bonnie showed up at her old room 2 days later, bags in hand and mascara streaked like she'd been crying all the way there. She tried moving back and like nothing had happened. That's when the real cracks showed. Mom said no. Dad said maybe. Lars screamed at both of them in the driveway loud enough for neighbors to watch from their porches. Bonnie stormed off, threatening to sue for her share of the space improvements. My old room. It would have been hilarious if it weren't so pathetic. Then Lars messaged me. Hey, he wrote, like we hadn't fought in the driveway a few weeks back. Can you help me sort some admin stuff? Business side's getting complicated. I didn't respond. Not with words. I kept collecting. Screenshot of Lars trying to sell my rims again, a check. Copy of the complaint about improper storage of hazardous materials, check. Public utility report showing unpaid water bills under my name, check. I added it all to the folder I'd started months back. It wasn't digital anymore. I had printed pages now. Tabs. Sticky notes. A log. Every time they tried to drag my name through the mud, I dragged theirs through a filing cabinet. And then came the anonymous complaints. Someone, not me, technically, reported the shop for unsafe working conditions. Someone else flagged the illegal tenant situation again. Someone, again, not me, called in a tip about improper oil disposal and the backyard runoff. That last one brought in a hazmat inspector. You could almost hear the yelling from blocks away. Dad blamed Lars. Lars blamed Bonnie. Bonnie threatened to expose the whole family for tax fraud if she didn't get her deposit back. They never realized I was watching. Not from across the street or through some spy camera. Just from a distance. A safe, quiet distance. I followed the permits, the shutdown notices, the social media freakouts. I didn't need to say anything. They were unraveling just fine without me. The golden boy was gone. The replacement failed. And now, they were circling the drain, all while I kept printing receipts like clockwork. Funny thing about rust, you don't always see it at first. But once it gets in the frame, it spreads fast. Quiet. Corrosive. Just like me. They cracked before they crumbled. It started with a voicemail from Mom. Victor, we need to talk. Things have gotten complicated. Just call me, okay? I didn't. Then came Lars. Hey man, no hard feelings, right? Look, we're thinking about restructuring the business. Might need your signature on some stuff for the bank. Just a formality. I blocked him. Bonnie sent a voice memo I didn't even bother opening. Probably full of fake crying and guilt tripping with that. You're better than this tone she used to get out of parking tickets. Then the text turned angry. Dad, you think this is funny? You're destroying your own family's future. Lars, grow up. You're acting like a bitter little punk. Mom, you need to stop this before someone gets hurt. Is that what you want? The answer was simple. I wanted out. But I also wanted the truth to hurt a little. I filed the paperwork that really mattered, the one that froze their ability to renew the shop's loan. I had copies of the old registration, the joint name, the transfers they never finalized. Bureaucracy is funny like that. It moves slow, until you put a wrench in just the right bolt. A lien went up on the property next. Equipment leases they stopped paying, the kind that stack interest like bricks. The county slapped them with a warning about expired zoning compliance. Then came the real show, The clearance blowout banner they hung over the garage bay, like the shop was just doing a little spring cleaning and not hemorrhaging cash. Bonnie posted a TikTok about it. It had 12 views. One of them was mine. They sold off everything: jack stands, welding masks, old tires, even the air compressor Dad used to call his baby. I watched Lars argue with a guy over $20 for a grease gun that probably cost 4 times that new. He looked like someone had turned off his oxygen supply. They still hadn't figured out how deep it went. That their past was full of receipts they never paid for, and I wasn't just talking about money. Now they were sending me Hail Mary texts. Mom, can we just talk face to face? Dad, we can fix this. Victor, we're still family. Bonnie, please. It's getting bad. They're blaming each other now. The tone had shifted. Less anger. More begging. More fear. But I kept my distance. No responses. No explanations. No pity. Because the truth is, I wasn't the one drowning. For the first time in my life, I wasn't the one standing in the rain, hoping someone left the door unlocked. They had locked the doors behind me. Bolted them. Called me deadweight. Told me real men work with tools and give up dreams. Now they were trying to find someone to blame while the roof caved in. But there was no one left to fix it. And I wasn't the one holding the blowtorch anymore. I was the blowtorch. It was a Tuesday. Late afternoon, cold wind outside, the kind of gray sky that made everything look like a faded photograph. I'd just gotten home from a shift unloading freight at the warehouse when my apartment buzzer went off. Not a delivery. Not food. The panel showed 4 names: Dad, Mom, Bonnie, Lars. All standing there, bundled in mismatched jackets, clutching folders and manila envelopes like they were about to make a group confession. I stared at the screen for a long second. Then I hit the button. I'm not letting you up. I said into the mic, come around front. I'll meet you in the lobby. When I walked downstairs, they were already inside. Huddled near the mailboxes like they didn't belong. They looked tired. Smaller. Like someone had deflated them just enough to make their clothes hang weird. Lars spoke first, holding up a folder like a peace offering. We've got paperwork. We're trying to make things right. Not my problem, I said. Just hear us out, Dad said, and for the first time in my life, his voice had a crack in it. Not from rage. From fear. Mom stepped forward, her hair undone and her face pale. Victor, we've lost a lot. The city's threatening to revoke the license. The lien's been extended. We can't even access the equipment we still have without someone from finance approving it. And I asked. And we need help, she said, almost whispering. Bonnie looked like she'd been crying, but there were no tears now. Just desperation. We can't move forward without your signature, Victor. The bank won't clear the application unless all listed parties sign. Please. Just help us clear the red tape. I didn't say anything. Dad stepped in, harsher now. Enough games. You've made your point. You're punishing us, but this doesn't solve anything. You want to see your whole family fall apart over pride. I stared at him. Is that what you think this is? I said. Punishment. Lars rolled his eyes. Come on, man. You don't get it both ways. Either you're part of the family or you're not. That made me laugh. Just once. Short and sharp. You made that decision a long time ago, I said. The day you called me a spare part. The day you tossed my stuff next to the tool shed. The day you replaced me with Trent like I was nothing. Bonnie winced at the name. Nobody mentioned Trent anymore. You looked me in the eye, I continued, and said I didn't contribute. You said I wasn't a man. So now that you're sinking, I'm supposed to forget all that. Mom reached out. We made mistakes. No, I cut in. You made choices. And now you get to live with them. I let that sit. They stood there in silence. For broken pieces of the same engine that once shoved me out like a strip bolt. I'm not signing anything, I said, my voice calm. I'm not fixing your mess. I'm not letting you back into my life. Dad's jaw clenched. Lars looked like he wanted to argue but didn't have the energy. Bonnie tried one more time, softer than I expected. You can't just shut the door forever. I looked at her. I didn't shut the door. You slammed it. I'm just locking it now. I turned toward the glass exit and opened it, cold air rushing in. Don't come back, I said without looking. Not here. Not to my life. Then I walked outside, the door closing behind me with a dull, final thud. And just like that, the family that cast me out finally got to feel what it was like to be left on the other side of the glass. A few days later, I was sitting at the diner near the train tracks, the one that never changed its prices and always served hash browns too greasy to be legal, when I got a text from Riley. Did it happen? I stared at the message for a while, then typed back. Yeah, they showed up. Whole crew. Asked me to save the shop. And told them no. Told them don't come back. There was a pause. Then Riley sent back. Damn, but that felt good. I thought about it. The way their eyes had flicked around the lobby, like they were trying to find a way out that didn't exist. The way Dad couldn't even hold eye contact. The way Mom said mistakes like it was supposed to mean something. And yeah, I'd expected to feel something like revenge. Triumph. closure. But mostly, I just felt done. That kind of hollow that isn't sad, just finished. They had burned the bridge and tried to walk back over the ashes. I didn't owe them a damn thing. And more than that, I didn't need them to fall apart for me to feel strong. They were already falling on their own. I wasn't living in Riley's van anymore. I had a real place, small studio, nothing fancy, but it was mine. Rent paid in full. A door that locked. A bed that didn't sag. A little whiteboard on the fridge with my own reminders, pay water bill. By WD-40. Sleep. I worked at a supply warehouse now. Steady shifts. Good hours. The pay wasn't amazing, but it was enough to make me feel like I wasn't one bad decision from the street. And every time I looked at my hands, stained from labor, calloused, strong, I reminded myself, these hands didn't build a family, but they build a life. Mom's emails went straight to spam now. She'd started writing long-winded guilt essays. We didn't realize how much you carried. We were under pressure. We let Trent influence us. Like that made anything okay. I didn't read past the first line anymore. Lars left 3 voicemails in 1 week. The last one sounded like he was crying, or drunk, or both. Bonnie sent one final text. I miss you sometimes. I hope you're okay. I didn't reply. Because I was okay. Not perfect. Not rich. But free. There was no more pressure to prove anything. No more wondering when someone would stab me in the back with a smile on their face. No more being told what kind of man I was supposed to be. I poured hot sauce on my eggs, leaned back in the booth, and watched a freight train roll by outside the window. Gray cars, rusted edges, loud and uncaring. They'd never say my name again without tasting the loss. But I didn't need them to remember. Because I'd already won. By not becoming them.